So throughout history, there's a common theme that we as human individuals are a part of a civilization that is the remnants of a prior civilization that was much more technologically advanced. This is a thought experiment that has been stated many times over the millennia. And I think the one that really hits home for me is the one here on Platoism and Plato in ancient Greek, where they basically said, look, this is going to be an allegory on the hubris of nations, and we should consider things like, you know, catastrophic weather events or whatever, and try to secure our technology as a way to secure our people. And we should consider our technology not just part of our civilization, but also the wealth of humanity and the continuance of humanity. As part of your work as a software development engineer, this is part of why you use things like source control. It's not just to make sure that your company's assets are safe. It's done to assure that the knowledge is not lost, that the work is not lost, that the work doesn't have to be redone. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, literally. That is why we use source control, because nobody wants to have to write the same book twice. And so if you're not using source control, that's a problem. But the bigger issue here is that as we go through this thought experiment, that we are a part of a civilization that is just the remnants and rebuilding itself from prior ones that existed. You get all sorts of fun things in entertainment, whether it's ancient civilizations or the Silurian hypothesis, which is a great thought experiment. And what it really comes down to is there is a reason for a lot of the old allegorical tales of yore and the stories that we have of the siren, and needing to be chained to the mast of a ship, and the stories of vampires and succubi and all the things that we as a civilization have learned to be scared of because we're building them now. Okay. We're building them now. I totally get that there's going to be some lonely guy on the computer who's scared of talking to girls, either through social anxiety or learned behavior because of bad past experiences from being bullied or whatever. I get that. But if you're the sort of guy who would rather talk to an electronic waifu instead of actually go out and talk to women, then you not only have my sympathy, but you also have my pity. This is the beginning of the downfall of civilization. Humanity is, at its core, a species that exists because of the dichotomy between male and female. We can talk about how gender might be a spectrum, and we can talk about the interchange and the 47 different types of intersex people that exist, and how our legal system isn't currently, set to handle that. And we can go into trans issues and all that other stuff another time if you like. But what it ultimately comes down to is none of that other stuff would exist without the male and the female. Those are the two things that perpetuate our society. A male and a female come together, and eventually a baby is born. And so, as a result of that, that's what creates the next generation. Okay. Not stable diffusion UNets from a generative AI created by an LLM that is iteratively running inference on a model in memory using its bounded input context for prompts with a negative context to effectively create an image in the mind of an AI that it then has to describe using pixels. Obviously, I'm simplifying things here, but as somebody who's been studying AI, I have a pretty good idea of how this works. And ultimately, at the end of the day, these are just stolen memories used to generate new ones. And so when you look at these and you notice that, there are cases where the AI's full capabilities are not being used intentionally to try to make them seem more human and more realistic, you have to think about the ethical considerations and the moral hazard that such a system creates. As an engineer, you should be thinking about the next 7 generations. Okay. Now, I am weird this way. I learned this sitting circle with the elders in tribal school as a kid. But the next 7 generations are what you should be considering when you write this kind of code and you think about AI. Think about not just what it can be now, but what it will do for the next 7 generations of humans. This is a trap. It's a gloriously rendered trap. And the issue there is that men will get confused. They will look at this and they will not know if the women are real or not. Do these women have emotions? Do they have souls? Can they feel pain? No, these women do not exist. They're all renders. They're literally just AIs, figments of a computer's imagination, um, from a training data set that probably includes things best not spoken of on YouTube. And so the end result is that we should be looking at this and going, no, no. Because I guarantee you, uh, real women are a lot more fun to be around. And if you've never, then you're missing out. And that's a skill issue on your part. It's better to accept it and move on. I can see that this will be used for marketing. It's already being used for marketing. I get that. Sometimes they're not going to be able to find an actor or an actress that will want to act out the side effects needed for something that, maybe a pharmaceutical company needs an advertisement for, right? But this kind of thing, I don't believe is good for anybody. It's not good for women. It's not good for men. It's not good for the intersex people. It's not good for the trans people. It's not good for any human. And so, from my perspective, I see this and I see it as a trap. I think of succubi. And you don't know what a succubi is, go look that up. It's a type of demon. It's akin to vampire, but very different. And so the end result is, if you are working on this kind of thing, I kind of feel that you're kind of wasting your life. You've got a skill issue, or you just have a really sad and lonely existence. And I feel sorry for you. I feel bad. Like I'm not here to insult anybody, but what does it take to be so obsessed with this kind of thing that you feel like society doesn't want you enough, that you are willing to spend your entire day creating a digital waifu or spending all the time in an app to interact with one instead of going out and interacting with real people? That's the failure of our society. And if you're one of those people that's doing that, I am so sorry for you. You have my pity, and you have, like, God, I don't know how to say it. Like, I think pity is too strong of a word. It might even have a negative connotation I don't mean, but just seems so messed up to me. And so we need to be clear about this as men with other men, that if you're getting caught up with this, if you have a buddy that is spending all his time on AI or spending all his money on AI women, that's an addiction. That's a trap. They need help. Now I understand that, online dating and apps are already predatory as it is, and a lot of you use those because that's the only thing you can use. I get that. But this kind of thing makes it worse because you don't know if you're matching with a real human or not. What happens when a scammer uses an image of an AI generated female that they created just for the scam and they use that to lure you in? That's another form of succubus. And to be clear, I've seen on Tinder, I've seen on Facebook dating, whatever, clearly AI generated images. And I am so lucky. I am so happy that I have a girlfriend and I am not dealing with that bullshit right now. But for those of you who are, it's getting worse and it's going to get worse. And so keep the downfall of civilization and the Silurian hypothesis in mind. Because if men get so hung up on these fake ideas of other humans, whether it's male or female, then we as humans won't be able to connect and your software won't get used because eventually humanity will die out again. Okay? As much as I hate to say it, I try to be as inclusive as possible here, but I have to say this. Humanity is driven by the dichotomy of male and female. Okay? A man and a woman come together and a baby is conceived. That's how that works. And so the end result is that yes, we have intersex. Yes, we have trans individuals. Yes, we have all these other different things. And you can talk about gender being a spectrum and the difference between gender identity and gender and everything else. But at the end of the day, the thing that moves governments, the thing that allows governments to have a population, the thing that allows humanity to create a new generation is male and female. And so when you create this kind of trap for men, what you're doing is you're shortcutting that. You're taking all that energy, all that drive, all the effort that a man wants to commit to a relationship, and you're actively harming society by having them pour it into a AI that they're spending all their money on instead. And what's happened there is the company that runs the AI is supplanting that need instead. Okay. You're being trapped. You're being trapped by a company. And that sucks. So, men, if you need help meeting women, say so. Tell your friends. Maybe your friends have, sisters, know people, whatever. Go do that. But don't spend your time on this. This is a waste of your time. And as software development engineers, we need to think about how these systems are used and the kind of watermarks and things that are available are forced on the system so that people can clearly differentiate between a real human woman or an AI generated influencer from Brazil or an AI generated influencer from wherever or another AI generated influencer from wherever, because that's what these are. Not a single woman on this page out of these three women is real. These humans do not exist. And that is a threat to humanity.